All right, Ghost in the Shell review. Saw the movie, saw it opening day. Took my dad. We saw it in IMAX 3D. I wanted to give this movie the best chance that I could. So, if there was things to wow me, I wanted them to wow me more wowful than if it was on like a regular screen. I also wanted to wait until opening weekend was over so I could see how the film performed at the box office, just for my own, analysis. And I'm actually kind of surprised. It only brought in $19.1 million, which seems real bad. Like, really bad. The Power Ranger movie had a stronger opening than Ghost in the Shell, and Ghost in the Shell arguably had more news coverage about it, whether it's negative or positive or anything like that. So I was kind of surprised. I thought it would at least be number 2 or number 1 at the box office for the weekend, but it goes to show what I know about movies. So remember that when you solicit my opinion of things. I don't know shit. It lost out to Beauty and the Beast, which brought in 47.6 million, and The Boss Baby, which brought in 49 million. So I don't know what to say. So yeah, I saw it. We saw it on Friday, and I'm kind of surprised it fared as poorly as it did. Visually, it's amazing. It looks exactly like what I would have thought I wanted back in the 90s when Ghost in the Shell first came out. Like if it was announced back then that this was going to be turned into a live action film, this is exactly what I would have wanted to see. Like the visual style, the background elements, the way the city is constructed, the set pieces, the props. I mean, the look of it, it's slick. Like you can't, whatever you want to say about the casting and the themes of the film and how successful it is, in terms of visuals and effects, it is definitely a successful project. A lot of people worked on it, so you got to give them a lot of respect. The practical effects look amazing. They look really cool in 3D because it's like you can almost reach out and touch them. And most of the stuff in there, you could have actually gone out and on set and touched them. So that's pretty fucking cool. But before I get into the real discussion of the film, I must preface it with the spoiler tag. This is all spoilers. Like, this review is all big, fat, chunky, juicy, river song type spoilers. Because I don't think I can do a proper review without talking about certain things that occur in the film. So, if you want to wait and go see it for yourself and come back here and watch the spoiler review, go ahead and do it. Probably go for a matinee so you spend $6 instead of the 12. Just saying. I think if you're gonna see it, I think it's worth seeing on a big screen. If you're not gonna see it, don't fucking worry about it. But if you are gonna see it in the theater, maybe don't pay like the IMAX price. I'm gonna start off with the controversy, and then a little bit about the movie and the plot and the characters, and then return to the controversy. So this is the way I'm gonna frame my review. All right. So in general, at least what I thought was the general Hollywood rule. Whenever there is a film that has a casting controversy in terms of ethnicity, whenever minority groups feel that a character is being whitewashed or portrayed by someone who is not authentically of that ethnicity, though the producers might address it and the actors might address it in press tours and things like that, the movie always ignores that fact. Always ignores the race. Always ignores the casting. And that's what I thought the general rule was. Well, not Ghost in the Shell. So it turns out Scarlett Johansson plays the Major, who is sometimes referred to as Major, as if that's her name, or the Major, as if that's her title. And it's a weird thing. So in the beginning of the film, she's called Major, and towards the end of the film, it's the Major. And it's a little thing, but it's kind of off-putting, and I don't know. I don't know why it bugs me, but it bugs me, and it bugged me throughout the entire thing, and it bugged me all throughout the press tours, and it bugged me throughout the trailer. So I'm saying it now, but it fucking bugged me. Anyway, she plays Major Mira Killian. That's her name. And as we go through the film, this movie is like it's basically an origin story. It's the Major's origin story. She's trying to find out how she came to be. It's like a very small story, and it turns out that her brain is the brain of a Japanese girl named Makoto Kusanagi. So the company that built her, the OCP of this world, Hanka Corporation, took Makoto Kusanagi off the streets, sucked her brain out, and stuck it into Scarlett Johansson. Literally whitewashing a Japanese character. Like, I don't know how much more literal that could have happened. And I wish they didn't do that. I wish they didn't do that, because now this has to be part of the discussion. This has to be part of the discussion of the movie. If you're going to be talking about this film in any sort of critical way, the literal whitewashing of the character has to be part of that conversation. If they didn't do that, if Miria Killian was some random person on the street and they plucked her brain out and stuck it into Scarlett Johansson, a couple years from now, no one would care. It would be like, oh, here's another movie that Scarlett did before they gave her a Black Widow movie. Isn't that great? But because they literally whitewashed her, now it's inherent in it's inherently a part of any discussion of this movie, and that disappoints me, because, like, my theory is if you're gonna recast something, if you're gonna change it, just go all out. Don't bother with us. Like, you already don't care about my opinion. You've already made it clear that you're not catering to me as a viewer. So fuck it. Just ignore the controversy and go on with your life. I don't know if this was intentional, like something that they wrote in the end to sort of appease people who were pissed off. But, I mean, that isn't the way to do it. It's not the way to do it. And I really wish they hadn't put that in the film. I think it would have been an aspect of the publicity surrounding the movie that would have irritated me. But as the movie itself, judging the movie by itself, it wouldn't have been part of the discussion. And now it is. And it brings up a whole lot of things that occur within the Ghost in the Shell property in general. Like, race and ethnicity are very rarely covered. Like, the original series doesn't really talk about it that much. And it's because, I think it's because it's aimed at a homogenous audience. And so any semblance of diversity that they see is going to be kind of cool, but it's not necessarily something that they're going to focus on. Whereas, like, race and ethnicity is such a hot button topic these days in America, and it's, those of us who are minorities, it's an inherent part of our everyday experience. Like, I can't go outside and pretend like I'm a mainstream American, because I'm not considered that. So, putting that in the film just invites that type of discussion, which I guess in some aspects could be good, but I don't know. I don't think it's handled well. I don't know. I think I've said too much on it. But yeah, I didn't like that. That jumped out at me when it was going that direction. I was like, oh no. Oh, and here's the other thing. They go to the gravesite and they show the name on the gravestone, Makoto Kusanagi, which is wrong, just plain wrong. In Japanese, the family name goes first and the given name is second, so it should be Kusanagi Makoto, and they fucked that up. So if you're gonna fuck it up correctly. Or just don't fuck it up. Just ignore us. And the villain, he's also whitewashed. His name was Hideo. He was a little Japanese boy that got turned into whoever plays that dude. So, yeah, that's a little problematic. So, on to the overarching plot of the film, the story, if you will. Um, so, like I said, it's an origin story. It's the Major trying to find out who she is, where she comes from, how she got into the body, all that kind of stuff. It's a, there's a cloud in her mind, and she's trying to push it away and learn about herself. And because it's that kind of movie, it feels really small. The original anime is kind of lauded for its expansive ideas and this gigantic world that it created. And even though the the film focuses on like the team and the Major, it feels like they're discussing world themes and themes of identity and existentialism and technology and all this stuff all bundled into this confusing package. Thanks, Mamoru Oshii. This movie is a little bit straightforward. It's like it really is like RoboCop. It's basically fancy RoboCop in the future. Um, and I don't know. It's an interesting. It in that way it kind of feels like fan fiction for Ghost in the Shell, like a tribute to the series, a tribute to the property. Like, hey, there's this cool thing. Here's our interpretation of it. This is what we think you will get out of it, and so that's pretty cool. It's interesting to see two American takes on a Japanese property in the theater at the same time, the Power Ranger movie and the Ghost in the Shell thing. It's kind of interesting. Um, so it's not what a fan like a old school Ghost in the Shell fan might expect out of a story like this. Um, and I don't know. Maybe it plays better for somebody who's new to the property, who doesn't have years of watching the series or watching the old movies or reading the manga. Maybe that kind of storyline, the straightforward, I need to find out where I come from kind of thing. Maybe that plays better for an audience who's new to this stuff. But for me, I kind of wanted to be a lot more confused, if that makes any sense. Certainly the second film by Mamoru Oshii is a head fuck, and you kind of got to sit down and take notes while you're watching it. This movie is pretty straightforward. Parts of it don't quite make any sense, like the main villain's idea for learning more about his past is to hack into people's brains and then kill them, which doesn't make any fucking sense. There's talk of a network that he is building, like his own personal network, but we don't know what that's for. That doesn't really get discussed. It's kind of a and in that way, it feels like fan fiction. It's like, here's this thing that was in the original film. There was a network and an AI that grew out of that, but we're just gonna put the network here. Here's a network thing. We're gonna talk about a network that you can go into and live in, but not really touch on it. And then we're gonna go on and do something else. So it's like 2 hours long, and there are parts that are surprisingly unfleshed out, like that. We also don't get a whole lot of interaction between the Major and Bato, which is sort of like the heart of the series. Like, so much so that the second animated film, focuses entirely on Bato and his journey of self-discovery and trying to find the Major. There's very little banter between Bato and the Major, and that's disappointing because we get hints of it. Like when Bato first gets his eyes and the Major flicks him off. That's cute. I wanted to see more of that. Yeah. Parts of the movie that I did like, parts of the story that I did like, parts of the things that I thought they did well. Takeshi Kitano B. Takeshi speaks Japanese throughout the entire film, and I was wondering about that. Like when they cast him, I was like, does he speak English? Are they gonna dub him? Nope, they're gonna give him subtitles, all Japanese. I thought that was cool. And nobody replies to him in Japanese. They reply to him in English, so he understands what they're saying. They understand what he's saying, and I kind of wanted that to extend to the rest of the world, like. The opening scene with the African president, I kind of wanted to hear him speak in an African dialect and have the subtitles come on, and then the Hanka scientist speaking in English. So I think that would have helped flesh out the world a little bit more the notion that technology has advanced to such a degree that we can all understand whatever language you're talking to. You know, we can inherently do that. So that would have been a nice aspect. Another thing that I did like was Scarlett Johansson's portrayal of the Major. It really made it feel like I don't know if this was a choice. I'm assuming this was a choice, but there were a bunch of it was uncomfortable watching her, like almost as if she was uncomfortable in her own body. And this film takes place a year after her brain has been plopped into the body. So like there's a scene in the trailer where she jumps through the window and shoots and kills a guy with the gun, and then stands above him and stands over him, and she's standing in this awkward pose that doesn't look natural and doesn't feel natural. So I think her body language was really good throughout the movie. It made me uncomfortable watching it. And I couldn't pinpoint it. I was like, this doesn't feel right. Something about this feels wrong. So I thought that was pretty successful. I'm assuming that was a choice. It's not well communicated if that was indeed a choice, but that's what I'm assuming was the choice there. So I've been rambling a little bit. I want to bring it all back and end with this idea that I thought of when I was watching this whole thing. And it's kind of meta, but it also goes back to the whitewashing controversy, I guess. So in the movie, Scarlett plays a little Japanese girl wrapped in the shell of a Caucasian woman. And, you know, it's not necessarily stated in the film that she's Caucasian, but Mira Killian kind of puts a button on it. And in the same way, you can view the film itself in the same manner. Like, Ghost in the Shell is a Japanese property, and this film wraps it in a Western shell. It's not necessarily a Caucasian shell, but it's a Caucasian shell. So the awkwardness and the uncomfortableness that the Major experiences in the film, and the way she interacts with the world, and her weird way of moving, and the uncomfortableness of experiencing the film through her eyes, sort of mirrors the uncomfortableness that the rest of us have experienced with the production of this movie. Like the announcement, the casting announcement, the screenshots, the trailer, the teasers, all of that stuff. It's been very uncomfortable to watch this thing come to be. So at least for me, my experience with it has been sort of like, you know, watching the Major experience her journey of self-discovery. So I don't know. I don't know if that's I don't know what to say about that. I don't know what the point is, but it's kind of an interesting phenomenon to see the movie be awkward and weird like Scarlett is in the movie. So I don't know. Take that. I don't know how you're supposed to take that. I don't know how I'm supposed to take that. But yeah, that's what I have to say, having now seen it. Would I recommend it? I don't know. Like I said, I think there's a lot that could have been improved on. I wanted to see more Bato and Major. I wanted to see some of that language stuff. It would have been more interesting to me, at least, if it wasn't an origin story and it talked about technology progressing to the point where it could create a life, which is the theme of the first one. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. So I don't know, man. It's hard. It's hard. Like I can't watch this in a vacuum. Like it's not new to me. This is all old shit. I've seen this shit before. Like I've read it. I've seen the movie. I've seen the series. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if I would recommend it. That's where I'm in. That's where I am. I'm even more confused now that I've seen the fucking movie than I was before I saw the fucking movie. So there you go. There's my review. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with me. If you have your own thoughts and opinions that are much more articulated and well thought out, and you can type them down, please share them in the comments. I look forward to hearing what your thoughts are on the movie. Yeah, and I'll check you later. Bye.